Hey everyone, Keith McGinnis here with KCDC Designs out of Eagle, Nebraska. So let's learn how to create this fantasy marble. Very simple. Stay tuned and enjoy the video. So what I'm creating tonight is I'm going to do this is kind of like a fantasy brown, a fantasy marble. And I'm going to be using pearl white, which is a just resin color. I'm going to be using interference gold, and interference gold is a Bling color. I have this in some other types or brands as well. And it can be called ghost gold, interference gold, pearl gold. I just like the way that it's not a very prominent color, but it adds, to me, it adds a lot of visual interest to the undertones. And whenever I'm doing something that is close to white, I like adding something that's going to be off-white, which will help mask any ambering that may occur down the road. I'm going to go with, you know what, we can just go, we'll just kind of even these out. I did want to mention that when using the metallic powders, if I am doing a large countertop surface, I'll make a slurry, and that is taking some isopropyl alcohol in a cup and mixing the metallics in there so I can get them mixed up really good and not end up with any unmixed metallics. Pretty. I don't know if you can see that, but that ghost gold is really a pretty color. Really pretty. Okay, so we got the ghost gold, we got the white pearl, and now I'm going to mix up some white metallic. So those really are going to be my base colors. And then the rest of what I'm going to be using to create the design is spray paints. So we're going to be creating some veins. We're going to be using the heat gun to move those veins around. And hopefully I'll be able to show you how you can use your heat gun to manipulate the veins, to open them, to close them, and to kind of get them to go where you want them to go. All right, so I got my colors mixed up. Get the surface one more wipe down. Now I'm just going to pour these out randomly in no particular order, although, yeah, I'm going to scrape these colors out. I'm not going to need any more of that. When I pour my colors out, I like to pour them out very, very randomly. How random, you say? Random, random. I'm going to add the ghost gold first because I want the ghost gold to be kind of an undertone. I don't want it to stick out too terribly much. And as I pour my colors out, I'm trying not to overlap them. I'm just filling in the blank areas, if you will. So now what I want to do is I want to decide, do I want this in a striated fashion or do I just want to meld the colors together? And since nothing's going to be in really a distinct pattern, you know what, just meld it. And then because I'm using ghost gold or the interference gold, which is a metallic, and then of course the white metallic that I'm using, a lot of times what I'll do is once I get the colors melded out like I'm doing now, I may wait. So one of the suggestions I made when you're torching, are you torching straight up and down like this, going back and forth, or are you torching at an angle? If you're torching at an angle, you're going to be able to cover more area and it's not going to be so concentrated on a straight up and down. I just ran my finger through it again too. I'm going to make a mess of this before the night's over. Okay. So with that being said, that's pretty hot right now. So we're going to let that cool off just a little bit. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some veins and we're going to use a popsicle stick to do that. Now, especially on darker colors, and especially when you have used metallics, keep in mind that you can actually run a vein without any spray paint on your stick at all. So if I were to run a vein through this way, you can see how it disrupts the metallics and it's actually going to leave the vein. So you don't always have to have spray paint or color on your stick. And that's going to be a faint vein. That's not going to be seen as, it's not going to be a focal point, but as you're standing over the top of the countertop, that's when you're going to be able to see some of that. Okay, like I said, I would normally, I took so much epoxy off of here with my shirt and then rubbing it with my hand. That's the glory of this. You can fix your mistakes. Now that little ghost vein right there, you know what, I'm going to leave it in there. If you didn't want it in there, I'm just going to erase it. And remember how I said you can kind of wake up the metallics a little bit? That's what I'm going to do here. Now, if this were further into the pour, and this is starting to set up a little bit, oh, that ghost gold, that interference gold is just gorgeous. I don't know if I like that. Yeah, I'm going to leave that there. So if you can tell how everything's just kind of a paisley look. So I could also just kind of do more of a striated look, and I think I'm going to leave it like that. I think I like that. Okay. All right. Again, normally I would wait about 15 to 20 minutes before I ran my veins. But I'm going to go ahead and run those now just so you can kind of get an idea. I'm going to do this a couple different ways. So if you guys haven't seen this, you can actually take your bondo spreader and put notches in them. And that's what I've done here is I have some notches in my bondo spreader, which makes it a notched bondo spreader. So I'll do this a couple different ways. The colors that I'm going to use, I have khaki, I have leather brown, dark walnut for a little bit of contrast. And then because every one of my projects gets it, I have some champagne bronze, just a color I really like. So we're going to do this a couple different ways. So let's do this one. Oh, let's just put some color like that, and then a little dark walnut. Now I'm going to take my bondo spreader and let's just kind of move those off down like that. Okay, so that's one way. Now on a sample board, so now let's take a little bit of this and let's go, since we went that way with that, let's just put a little bit down here. So this one, I'm just going to take my stick and I'm just going to run this back and forth. And so that is really, really fluid. Very, very fluid right now. But all I'm trying to do is just to break those colors up a little bit. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that and I might put a little bit of color in here just to give that a little bit of accent. Okay. And if I wanted to, I could do that over here as well, but you may be able to, there's a little booger in there, you may be able to see the difference between these two if I tilt this up a little bit. And you can see the difference between what the bondo spreader did and then what the stick did. Now I'm going to take the heat gun and we're just going to open those up a little bit. Now, I really would not have to do anything with either one of those because it really looks really good right now the way it is. I don't know if you can see that, but again, remember the epoxy is still moving. So this is the side here that I did with my stick, and this is the side over here that I did with the bondo spreader. So anyway, so now I'm just going to take the heat gun, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to come right up over the top. Because I don't want to move those veins around a lot, but I'm using the heat gun just to kind of open those up. and give it more of a man-made look. Now, if I want to come in from the side, I can blow those in a little bit. Just don't want to stay on one area too long. Wow, that's really pretty. Now, I've done enough of these fantasy marbles. Remember how much I sprayed right along this area? And so much of it now has fallen off. So I'm going to add a little bit more. I really like that dark walnut and the leather brown. So I'm just going to put some more streaks of that in there. See how fluid that is? And that's because that is still very, very warm. Now, again, normally I'm probably going to wait. And then let's put a vein here in the middle. I might be able to give you a little bit of more of an idea. So if we come across here, now that's a metallic, and so that's why that has opened up so much. And let's go with a little bit of the khaki. Now that's going to be a wider vein, and a little bit of the leather brown. And a little bit of the champagne bronze. Why? Because that's my favorite color. This too is a metallic, so it's really going to spread out as well. And we can take, I think I'm just going to leave that like that. And I'm actually going to add, let's do this. Since we have a vein in the middle, let's get one over here too. And if we wanted to, let's break that off, maybe to follow that a little bit. And a little leather brown. And did I already get the dark walnut? Yep. A little champagne bronze. All right, now I didn't anticipate this, but I'm going to. I'm going to add some white because I really like how the white, you got to be really careful when you're running a vein with the white. Because it can take over, but it adds a really cool effect. So I gotta be really careful here. A lot of my stick. And you can even put some black in there. And I guess what's probably most important is you can do this with any colors that you want. So now, remember, this is still very, very fluid. This is going to be a pretty large vein, but I'm going to try to manipulate that around a little bit, move that around a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Wow. Now that right there, say it with me, that could be a finish all on its own. Can get a little better look at the vein. And take note, oops. Take note down in this area right here. Remember how much spray paint that I put along this area? And all of that is now flowed off the table. Now, that being said, there's not a whole lot that has dripped down onto the table, but all that color that I put on there has flowed off. What I'm left with really looks really cool. Now, the undertones that were in there, as far as the ghost gold, the white metallic, and the pearl white, again, a lot of those colors have sunk. So if I wanted to, I could take my hand and I could wake those up just a little bit. And I kind of hate to do that because I like how the color, oh, that is so fluid. I like how those colors have really moved around a lot. So now I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to soften that up just a little. Okay, now honestly, I could leave that just as it is. That is really, really pretty. Oh boy, do I really like that. I like that a lot. So what I could do, and how much time are we working on here? 27 minutes. So what I could do is I could spritz that with some alcohol. I am so sorry about that glare. I'm going to have to work on that for my next live. So I could spritz that with some alcohol. Personally, I really like it the way it is. I really don't want to spritz it, but for the sake of showing y'all what it would look like if I did. Okay. So let's spritz that there. See, I don't like that. You all might, but I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I really like how clean that all is. All that color that I put along there, that's all that's left of it. So keep that in mind. I mean, my piece is level, but because of heating it, causes it to get more fluid, and those colors are going to run. So keep that in mind. If you're running your colors really close to your edge, chances are those colors are going to end up on the table. So just be aware of that. I could have done without the alcohol. Now, y'all might like that again, but I really, really like that the way it turned out, and I'm going to walk away from it. There's really nothing else I want to do with that. That is really, really pretty. So I'm going to get the camera and we'll try to get some closer views. Again, I can only apologize for the glare, but look how those veins turned out. Isn't that pretty? And remember, the one side I did with the bondo spreader, the other side I did with the stick. And there's really not a whole lot of difference between the two, but that vein in the middle, and then being able to manipulate that with the heat gun. Just really turned out cool. The white you can barely see, but I think it adds a really cool effect. I really like it. So that's what we've got, glare and all. If I can get away from the glare, which I can't. Sorry. So that's it. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you have tuned in, again, this is Keith McGinnis with KCDC Designs out of Eagle, Nebraska. As far as any notes go, I know there is a pro class with RK3 Designs coming up. If you have not been to one of the RK3 Designs pro class, get signed up. It'll be the best investment you ever made. There is a 4-day pro class as well as a 101 class. The 4-day pro class includes business essentials as well as fabricating and as well as 2 full entire days of epoxy. Whether you've mixed up epoxy before or not, again, it will be the best investment that you've ever made. So I highly encourage it. So go. Mitch with Stone Coat Countertops is usually there at the pro class as well. Get a chance to meet Mitch. But 4 days with Rhonda and Kenny and the other students is an experience you won't forget. So again, this is Keith McGinnis with KCDC Designs. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have tutorials. My tutorials are basically the countertops that I've created for customers, but I'm also going to start doing some tutorials like what you saw here, just to try to give you some different ideas of some different techniques and different things that you can do. So please check out my YouTube channel, and that's KCDC Designs. Please subscribe and click the like button. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, y'all.